Hello and welcome to AASPA's podcast. I am Anna Weber and I'm AASPA's marketing coordinator. With me today, I have Robert Feirsen from Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, and Seth Weitzman from Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York. Both Robert and Seth are presenting for AASPA at our 85th annual conference in Anaheim, California, coming up in just a couple of weeks. Robert and Seth, thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Pleasure to be here.
We're very excited to be with you.
Yeah. And would you mind telling our listeners just a little bit about yourselves?
Seth?
Okay. So my name is Seth Weitzman. I was a middle school principal for 27 years. You know, I go to cocktail parties and people run away from me when I say that, but it's a job I loved, actually. The school districts, two of them were located just outside New York City, which is where I live, and I also taught for 7 years. Rob and I wrote a book on, actually two books on education topics, both having to do with personnel issues. Actually, one quite some time ago, 20 plus years ago, on how to get the teaching job you want. It's about the job search process in education. And the second, about 2 years ago now, is called From Conflict to Collaboration, a school leader's guide to unleashing conflict's problem-solving power. Rob?
Okay, I'm Robert Feirsen. I too have many years in P-12 education. I was a teacher of social studies and I was special education. And then I joined the ranks of the school leadership and became an assistant principal at both the elementary and middle school levels, where I connected with Seth. And then I went on to the central office as an assistant superintendent, deputy superintendent, ultimately as superintendent of schools, before marching off into higher education where I am now. So, so between us, we feel we've covered a lot of territory in P-12 education and have seen it from many perspectives.
Right, you guys have done it all up and down the PK-12 world.
Right.
What session are you presenting for us at this year's annual conference?
So we're doing a session on based on our research about conflict and how conflict affects school leadership, and particularly stresses both the school leader and the organization as a whole. And our goal in this presentation is to help attendees really develop what we call conflict agility skills, because conflict in education today, and really for many, many years, has been an arena of conflict. And the interesting or ironic thing is that most leadership programs and most leadership professional development does not address conflict. It doesn't address how to deal with conflict. So people are unprepared for the challenges it presents. So we've, in our research, which is based on not only the field of education, but we've looked at business, we've looked at actually engineering, we've looked at healthcare, we've looked at what's something called peace studies, and we've really assembled a number of skills and understandings that we think help school leaders really master the terrain of conflict and can turn it into not only a problem-solving device, but a way to promote organizational growth.
Seth, do you have anything to add?
You know, these are unprecedented times, we think, with school leaders facing the challenge of conflict, maybe more than ever. I mean, in fact, historically, you could go back to school desegregation and school segregation. You could go back to 100 years ago to teaching evolution and the Scopes monkey trial. But you just have to open a newspaper or look on social media to see how heated these issues have become in schools. So there's kind of, we'll call it day-to-day conflict that leaders have been accustomed to working in schools, where parents, teachers, school leaders, school boards may have different values and different interests. So there's all of that, kind of day-to-day conflict that we suppose every organization must face. But then in these times, of course, there was just a study out that showed that it's this political conflict that has led scores of school leaders to up and leave, either by choice or not.
So I guess that kind of leads into my next question. What would motivate someone to come to your session?
Well, we'd like to think that that there's lots of reasons, and no matter what your job title might be, we think that we have a lot to think about if you attend our session. I don't have to explain to your audience how this topic relates to school leaders. It's something that school leaders face day in and day out. There are studies that show that leaders face conflict 20 to 40%. That's 20 to 40% of their day. And we'd like to think that personnel administrators play a key role in teaching other leaders in a school building or a school district those skills and strategies that Rob referred to before. It's really the gist of our session, is to help school leaders walk away with the beginning of an understanding that they can do something about conflict. It can get better if you learn some of those skills and strategies that we'll be teaching in our session.
So if I could just add on to that a little bit. I think the role of personnel administrators and really the human resources school leadership has, is way beyond the traditional old kind of archaic view of just hiring people and things like that. It expands into many spheres, ranging from induction, mentoring, professional learning. It includes negotiations, and all of these things in the past decade or so have become contentious in one level or another. What do we do about DEI initiatives? What do we do about the way we approach hiring and induction? What do we do in terms of professional learning? What are we teaching? How are we doing it? What's our approach to sharing leadership and distributing leadership? All these things have become contentious beyond the typical day-to-day things that Seth was referring to. And so the skills and understandings, and I think even the dispositions, the approach to this that we suggest, I think can help folks become more attuned to those issues and be able to address them more effectively. But also, we keep stressing this, grow the organization. It builds organizational capacity, because as leadership shows the way, these skills and understandings become part of the way we do business around here and promotes organizational health.
Excellent. Would you mind sharing with me one of the tools or strategies that the session attendees can take away and implement immediately in their district?
Sure.
Well,
Seth, go ahead. We really focus on, I think, two distinct approaches. One is this kind of you as the leader, you as the role model, you as the person who sets the agenda. And there are a number of skills and understandings that go with that. And then we have another set of skills that relate to organizational health. But let me talk about the first one, because leadership sets the tone, and leadership provides the model. And one of the things we talk about in our sessions is understanding cognitive and emotional bias. Conflict inevitably raises the emotional temperature. And when we get emotionally heated, when we get emotionally involved in the discussion, it has impact on our thinking. And some of the things that we suggest in the workshop are ways to control those emotional and cognitive kind of shortcuts that we traditionally take. Now, these things work because they enable us to make decision making much shorter. I mean, if we had to go through a whole critical analysis of everything that we do, it would certainly tie up our day. We never get anything done. So these things are all often helpful. On the other hand, when conflict arises, they can become extremely deleterious, and they can result in confusing the agenda, kind of delaying rational thought, putting other people off. So we teach some of the strategies for understanding your biases. It's very hard to really take a step back and look at yourself and recognize where your biases lead you, and then being able to channel that kind of rational thought in a better direction.
And I'm going to go in a different direction. We discuss this in our book, and it's also on the agenda for our presentation. It's kind of the conflict has two opposite effects, we believe. On one hand, it is, as Rob has described, creates a toxic environment in many schools when it's not constructively addressed. And that has an impact on school leaders themselves and their lasting on the job and their stress levels as well. And it also has an impact on a school district's capacity to undergo reform, because there's this knee-jerk reaction to change that's seething with conflict. On the other hand, some administrators take the opposite approach. They're uncomfortable with conflict. So as a result, they shy away from it, they avoid it, and that, we believe, is problematic too, because many of the substantive big issues we face in education today, equity would be on top of my list. Nothing moves forward in many schools because we think that school leaders are afraid to poke the bear, They're afraid of the conflict that would result because they haven't learned how to deal with it. James Baldwin, American writer, there's a quote he has on this topic that I love. James Baldwin said that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed unless it is faced. And that speaks to the necessity that school leaders be able to not avoid or neglect conflicting issues, but in fact to take them on in a way that's healthy for an organization.
Well, this topic sounds amazing. You are both very knowledgeable, I can tell. And I spend a lot of time talking to school administrators, obviously, in my line of work, and it sounds like this session will be incredibly helpful to a lot of them, because every time you see them, they're trying to put out another fire, and it's difficult to put out those fires when there's things happening in the background besides just the safety and well-being of students. And it sounds like this session is going to be an amazing font of knowledge for them. Have either of you attended any AASPA events before? You can say no, it won't hurt my feelings.
No, I presented in AASPA was it July? I think,
in Orlando.
Yeah.
Excellent. And
well-attended session. And I think I was pleased as a presenter because it was a very engaged audience, because they were not posing an issue that personnel administrators haven't seen 1,000 times, in fact. So they were, they were very willing and ready to contribute their own perspective on it, which we think, made the session that much more lively. Yeah.
think that you can anticipate that in October as well, especially with these pre-conference sessions that it's 3 hours. It's a lot more time for you to really dive into all of the ins and outs of your topics.
Yeah, and we're looking forward to making this very interactive because, first of all, I know I am a lousy lecturer, so that's number one. But the point of this is that people really get their feet wet and really experience this approach, this perspective, and how to utilize it so that they can bring it back to their settings. We don't want to have some just inert knowledge that's, nice to have, but isn't useful. So our work really involves folks getting into the material and really working on simulations so that they're able to see the relevance directly to the job that they have.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for joining me today. I've had a great time speaking with you, and I wish that I could go to your session. It's been very fascinating to listen to both of you speak.
Well, we hope you can attend. And
I
certainly,
do too.
okay.
Sneak away. Well, thank you both.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to meet you, and we hope to see many school personnel administrators at our session.
Yes.
Looking forward to it.
Yes, and thank you for the time to do this. We appreciate it.
I'll see you both in Anaheim very soon.
Great. Take care.